could have a lot of, I mean, it really could just be it's a training book.
It is, and we actually developed it because we used to do, Gail and I, we used to hold proposal writing workshops. So we took our curriculum and broke it down into 8 chapters with lessons at the end. So by the end of going through this book, you come out with a good proposal. And one of the reasons we did it too was there are a lot of grant writing books, proposal writing books out there, but they're 3-4 times the size. If you're busy and you're being asked to take on proposal writing in addition to running your business, helping your family and such, and you're doing this as a volunteer, you might not want to read 400 pages or you might not want to take a day or 2 training, but this can help you right away.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you could get this book and you could actually follow the step-by-step.
Absolutely.
And then you could do the grant yourself if you wanted to.
Right.
I mean, that's a step. I mean, obviously having somebody who's a consultant and has expertise about where do you apply for the appropriate grant. Now if people wanted to research grants, how do they do that?
We covered that in the book as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, a whole chapter just on researching funders, because there is an art to it. And a lot of people will come out with 100, 200 names and say, here are the groups we want to apply to. And, you know, truly maybe half a dozen might be appropriate for them.
So part of it's writing the grant and the other part is finding the matchmaking system.
Right.
How to get that together. And so you cover that in the book.
We do. Everything from researching to budgets to attachments.
Can you give us some highlights? Now, I don't want you to give away everything in the book, but what are some highlights that are important for people to know?
We do a really good job, I think, on terminology, because a lot of times, like with grants and proposal writing, there's a lot of bad terminology out there. And in fact, I just finished writing a draft proposal for a client who's responding for a state contract through the state request for responses. And even the funders themselves mix up the terminology. So everybody's confused. What's a goal? What's an objective? What's an outcome? It's all being used, intermittently, which leads to a lot of confusion. So we go through and give examples of all the different terminology expressions you would find and what they mean, and different kinds of fields, what it might look like.
So would you mind giving me some examples of some of those terminologies? Like,
sure.
I'm interested in this because
Okay.
I'm sure I mix those up and I really don't have those distinctions.
Okay, let's pull some right out of here.
Okay.
And actually, I believe on my website I have an excerpt from this chapter right on my website if people want to get more of a flavor.
And just say, what's your website, just if people are listening in, what is your website?
It's www.proposalsetc.com.
So proposals, etc.
Yes.
Proposalsetc.com.
Correct.
Okay, great.
Okay. A goal is a broad-based statement of the ultimate result of the change being undertaken. And we describe what it is and give 3 examples. Encourage women to take responsibility for their own financial well-being and self-sufficiency would be an example of a goal.
Okay.
Or if you were a college, you might have something like, entering freshmen will be better prepared to learn and participate in college life.
Okay.
Or if you're a senior center, the homebound elderly in Shangri-La County will live with dignity and independence in their own homes.
So those are all goals.
Goals, broad-based statements, ultimate result.
Okay.
Okay? As opposed to an objective, which is a measurable, time-specific result that the organization expects to accomplish.
So let's hear some objectives.
Okay, so for our first example where we had the goal of encouraging women to take responsibility for their own financial well-being and self-sufficiency, an objective could be encourage women to take responsibility for their own that was the goal. The objective, with input from financial professionals, members, and the board, Womenkind staff will create the curriculum for a 6-week introductory financial literacy course by January 1st, 2011.
So it's very specific and it's time bound.
That's right.
Okay, good. So that's objective. So are there any others? You said outcomes?
Yes.
What's an outcome? So I think I'm understanding this. So we've got our broad-based goals, we've got our specific objectives with a time-bound nature.
Right. An outcome is the change or changes that will occur as a result of your proposal's outputs. Now, we talked about outputs a little earlier. But for the college example, the outcome we have here is Bleecker College students are less likely to become infected with STDs, sexually transmitted diseases.
I don't remember that goal.
Well, the goal was to, this is why we have them all together. The goal for that particular one was entering freshmen will be better prepared to learn and participate in college life.
Okay.
And an objective for that one, where is it? I'm sorry.
No problem.
200 Bleecker freshmen will be educated on the threat of STDs and how to prevent infection was the objective.
Okay.
For that went with the goal, and then the outcome would be, well, we want less students infected with STDs.
Well, okay.
Which is a good thing, right?
Okay, good. So, but it sounds like what you do is you help people keep it consistent.
Yes.
So when you're talking about a goal, it really is a goal, very broad, in a direction where you're going. The specific objective, which has a measurable result and a time-bound nature, and the outcome is like what you're going to see on the other side.
Right. And
Which probably would be very consistent with the goal.
And I find, especially with professionals in really complicated human service fields where they're dealing with so many issues, when you deal with human beings and trying to affect change, that they know so much and they dump out all this information. Mm-hmm. And in the end, you're like, well, what was the request again? What's the question? You can't even understand where they're trying to go because you've had so much detail.
Yeah.
So part of it's trying to explain clearly what it is they want to do, how they're going to get there, in a simple way that people who aren't in the field can understand.
Yes. Well, what I'm hearing you saying, there's a couple things, is that for one thing, you have a great book that helps people write grants and write proposals to get grants.
Yes.
That you help people with the languaging of them so that they're very specific, that people actually get what they want. And that when people hire you as a consultant, you really help them match up what they're looking for with the appropriate funding sources so that they're really successful at what they do.
Right. And it might not even be a grant. It might be a request for just a contribution through a direct mail letter, for example, or an annual giving campaign. So you still have to communicate in a very succinct and clear manner if you want somebody to take their hard-earned dollar out of their pocket and turn it over to you as the charity.
Yeah, it's really how do you represent yourself and how do you communicate and make requests in a way that people will actually accept your requests.
Yeah, and they'll be motivated to make that donation. They're actually moved enough to give their hard-earned money to you, as opposed to all the other, very equally hardworking and deserving charities out there.
So what I hear is that you really help nonprofits distinguish themselves in a very complimentary way so that they get the support that they need.
That's right. That's
great.
right. We did one direct mail postcard one year for one of my small clients who was just overwhelmed with tremendous success because she filled a very niche need helping survivors of domestic violence. And the word got around, and she had so many women that she was actually running out of money. And we decided, despite being on the verge of the 4th of July weekend, to tell people very quickly in a big postcard, actually I brought it along, how can we communicate that we need money to keep going and these women are not going to get services without some extra help. So we did this oversized postcard, said, getting ready for a relaxing summer? We aren't. In fact, Web of Benefit is busier than ever. And talked about the self-sufficiency grants that they were providing to help survivors of domestic violence, but we need your help. We can't continue without your help. And that generated almost $7,000.
It's great. Because, what I hear is that you really help people get what they need. And you have a myriad of ways that you can do that. So, Carla, I want to thank you. I'm speaking with Carla Cataldo today. And she is a proposal writer. Her business is Proposals, etc. And she helps nonprofits get what they need to do the important work that they're meant to do. So Carla, I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank you for tuning in today to Living Your Dreams. And I hope that you live your dreams. Thank you.